Hello everybody, it's Mimberly and welcome back to the channel. Now you might hear a tiny bit of background noise because we have got a boffy new fan. This thing is literally nearly as tall as me and it's designed to cool the air in the room because this office has been reaching like 33 degrees Celsius, which for those of you who don't know, that's pretty goddamn hot, hence why I'm still on the strap top and the hair is still tied up. But we're starting something new. The Girl Who Fed the Wolf. This is a Caleb Love and Deepspace dating sim by Kawi. We've done them before on the channel. That sounded a lot better in my head. We've played through their stuff before, being the Silas dating sim, capturing control. This is the Caleb version. Now, fun fact, she is actually doing a Zane one, I believe, very soon. So I'm scared. Because this is Caleb, isn't it? Okay, if this is anything like the last one, this is going to be unhinged. Once upon a time, there was a girl and a boy who found each other in the quiet between storms. They shared secrets and scars, meals scraped together, and laughter stolen between chores. They lived in a crooked house at the edge of a village with a grandmother who smelled of thyme and spoke to crows. The girl and the boy shared everything: blankets, bruises, stolen sweets. And though they were not kin by blood, they were family all the same. Their days were quiet, warm with soup and stories. Their nights were safe, wrapped in old quilts and starlight. But magic has rules, and happiness is never left unchecked for long. One winter, the boy began to change. At first, it was nothing, a stomachache. He asked for second helpings, snuck bread after supper. His gaze lingered longer. His eyes tracked the girl when she wasn't looking. His appetite grew wild, sharp around the edges. Meals left him hollow-eyed. His hands trembled. The villagers started to murmur. "There's something wrong with that boy," they said. Something stirring beneath his skin. Their glances turned sharp, their whispers louder. The boy stopped going into town, stopped meeting their eyes. And then one morning, before the frost had melted from the windows, he was gone. He left only footprints behind, bare, and was already softening under the snowfall, leading into the forest. A forest older than any map, where the trees bend low to listen and the wind speaks in riddles. A place where no lantern burns bright enough to hold back the dark. They say the forest changed him, that under the moon's cold eye, the boy shed his skin and became something. Fangs, fur, and hunger sharpened by sorrow. I like that we're going more fantasy theme on this one. This is going to be interesting. The girl watched him vanish into the trees. She wept, but she stayed behind, because that's what good girls do. And what if she went after him? Oh, he does look good. Caleb lifts his eyes from the book, blinking like he just cracked the sky. What? I think she would go after him. It makes more sense. So you want me to change the story? Yes. Thunder cracks. You flinch, pressing the pillow tighter against your chest like it might soften the sound. Outside, the storm coils around Skyhaven like a living thing, lightning flashing behind the distant towers. Drain drumming steady against the glass. Inside, Caleb's flat is warm, safe. There's a low hum from the heating system, a faint static buzz from the interface screen on the wall, the distant pulse of the busy city below. You're a hunter. You face nightmarish things. Things that don't die easily. But storms, they still crawl beneath your skin. You have a mission nearby, just a short drop from the train station. Caleb insists you stay with him until you're on Skyhaven. You didn't argue. He watches you, the corners of his smile twitching with the beginnings of a smile. You're such a handful. You're the one who said you wanted to get better at storytelling to distract me better. I'm just helping you evolve. He exhales, theoretical, just like the story he chose to tell, and looks down at the book again. You can almost hear him rearranging the pieces in his mind. Fine. The girl went after her brother. The girl went after her brother. She searched and searched, calling his name into the trees, but he was nowhere to be found. The forest was magic, alive in strange, secret ways. The paths curved back on themselves. Stones shifted. Landmarks disappeared. Sometimes a tree whispered. Sometimes they listened. She knew if she kept looking, she might not be able to come back. Caleb stops winking? He stops reading. He looks at you. You blink. Why did you stop? Keep going. What would the girl do? You sit up straighter on the bed, thinking hard, excited to contribute to the story. She'd keep going after him, of course. Because he should stay with her, or because she cares about him? Because she cares about him. Caleb is silent for a moment, and then he nods. Alright. I like how they do like the breathing animation as well. It's really, really good. The girl kept going. She wandered for days, maybe weeks. Time bent oddly in the forest. She would walk and walk, only to end up where she began. She grew frustrated, angry. She shouted at the sky, kicked over a moss-covered stone, and wept when it didn't fix anything. Eventually, she went home, but she never stopped looking for him. Then one day, while wandering a part of the forest that felt almost familiar, or almost unfamiliar, she found a new path. It was narrow, hidden. It hadn't been there before. She followed it, heart beating faster with every step, until it brought her to a clearing she'd never seen. At its center, half hidden by ivy and shadow, was a den. Oh God. A figure stood just inside the mouth of it. Oh, ho, 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 ho. A man, dangerous, feral, but familiar in the way his dreams are. His clothes were different, his hair wild, his eyes still his. She called out to him. He flinched, stumbling back into the shadows. Something twisted in her chest at the sight. She remembered the way he used to eat. Always hungry, always hollow. Gently, she reached into her satchel and pulled out an apple. She placed it at the edge of the den and stepped back. He waited, and then he moved, slow and cautious. He picked it up, sniffed it, then turned away. She heard the sound of teeth sinking into flesh, juice dripping, his body trembling as he devoured it. When he turned back, his lips were shining with juice. His eyes gleamed. The girl smiled and stretched her hand towards him. Come back with me. The wolf stared at her. And then he shook his head and retreated deeper into the den. I'll come back with more food. Wait for me. He didn't answer, but he watched her. And in his eyes, though she couldn't be sure, there might have been a flicker of pain. And then he turned and disappeared into the dark. I didn't know you liked such gloomy stories, Caleb. He raised an eyebrow, snapping the book shut with exaggerated drama. Fine, good luck with the thunder. You gasped, clutching your pillow like a betrayed princess. No, I want to know how it ends. Should have thought about that before you insulted my literary taste. You narrow your eyes. Literacy taste? You once called the monster under my bed asked me out a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. You just have no appreciation for cult classics. You dog-eared every single page with a kiss scene. And I stand by it. He leans back, smug, arms crossed like he's delivered the closing argument in a trial. You toss a pillow at him. He doesn't budge. Be a good girl and I'll continue. Yes, sir. You freeze mid-eye roll. I'm not a kid anymore. He's still staring. Not smug now, just steady, like he's searching for something in your face. You make a sound, halfway between a groan and a sigh, burying your face in the pillow again. Ugh, just keep going. The next day, the girl returned to the forest. She carried more food in her bag, enough to feed two. The trees watched her as she passed, silent but not still. Leaves rustled without wind. Roots seemed to shift when she wasn't looking. She felt it then, something unseen, watching her from the shadows. But when she reached the den, the wolf was already there, waiting. He stood at the entrance, his eyes glowing faintly beneath the low-hanging branches. His posture was weary, but not hostile. Still, the girl didn't know what he was afraid of. She set the food down in front of him. He ate everything like he hadn't tasted warmth in years. Quick and messy, until there was nothing left. But when he finished, he was still watching her. Still hungry. Is it not enough? The wolf spoke for the first time. The food helps, but not in the right way. The girl paused and thought carefully, and then she made a choice. Offer her voice or offer her touch. Ooh, okay. Oh, so yeah, I know my nail came off. I'm really upset about it. Offer her touch? She stepped closer with careful steps and raised a hand to his face. His eyes fluttered shut as her fingers brushed his fur. He didn't flinch, just leaned into her touch like it grounded him. And then he lay down, cautious but calm, resting his head in her lap. She ran her fingers through his tangled hair, soothing down the edges of his ears. His body relaxed, but something in him still held back. Poor thing. He probably hasn't been touched in years. It's good that he's relaxing. There's a pause. Caleb turns to the page. He still didn't let go, though. He doesn't trust her. Maybe he knows once he lets go, he won't stop. I mean, the sun rose and fell again and again, and the girl kept walking the path. No matter what she gave, the wolf seemed fuller. But each time she turned to leave, she heard it. The low, hollow growl of hunger. Not loud or desperate. Just there, like something he no longer tried to hide. She wondered if she was the only one feeding him. The thought of someone else bringing him food, placing offerings at the edge of his den, slipping into the silence she thought was theirs. It sent something sharp and hot sliding beneath her ribs. No one else should do it. They don't know him like she did. They didn't love him like she did. The next time she entered the forest, she looked for signs, other footprints, other scents. But all she found were the delicate tracks of rabbits, half faded in the moss. Did the wolf eat bunnies? Was that how he fed when she wasn't there? The idea settled strangely in her chest. She didn't want him fed by anything else. The wolf's hunger was hers to soothe. No one else should, not even prey. That day, as she turned to go, she left something behind. A ribbon of hers. She untied the ribbon from her hair and placed it gently on a nearby stone. Something small, something hers, so he could remember her. A ribbon, huh? It's just something nice. Or cruel. You look at him, one eyebrow raised. Cruel? Giving him something he can't forget when she still leaves every time. You go quiet. He doesn't elaborate. The wolf took what she left behind. He cradled it in his hands and held it close to his chest where the beating of his heart was loudest. When the hunger rose like a tide, curling sharp and endless in his belly, he gripped it tighter. It soothed him. A little. Enough to breathe through the worst of it. Enough to remember the girl's voice, her footsteps on the path, the way her eyes softened when she looked at him like he was still his old self. But hunger does not fade when fed memories. It only waits. And it was getting worse, stronger. It wanted more. Shit. One day, the girl walked into the village to buy food for the wolf. The market was busy with late morning chatter, the scent of yeast and roasted nuts curling in the air. The baker smiled at her, too easily. His voice was low, warm, the kind that invited her to lean in closer. When he handed her a fresh loaf, the crust is still hot from the oven. His flour-dusted fingers lingered just a second too long. He told her she ought to be careful, venturing so close to the woods. She laughed, a soft, breathless thing, and then she felt it. That slow, creeping pressure against her back. Not a touch, not a sound, but something else. Like a thought slipping into her mind that didn't belong there. Like the forest itself had opened an eye. She knew the sensation. It had found her before, on quiet nights, in place where the air grew too still, the hush too deep, as though the world was waiting for her to notice. She never had, until now. She turned, the loaf warm in her arms. At the edge of the trees, just beyond the last crooked fence post, a pair of familiar glowing eyes stared back. They were watching her openly. They had always been watching her. And this time, she saw them frown or smile. Oh, okay, I feel like this is a big choice. Hold on. What do I want to do? Okay, I think I'm going to make him frown, just because we're going to be doing multiple playthroughs on this anyway, so we're going to make him frown. The girl frowned. She could almost feel the wolf's unease, but she was already grown up. She could take care of herself. The eyes vanished into the shadows without a sound. She doesn't need him watching her all the time. You glance at Caleb. He doesn't say anything at first. Just flips the page a little too slowly. Maybe not, but maybe the wolf doesn't know how not to watch her. Think this is getting a bit close to home, Caleb. Later, the girl followed the path through the forest again. The trees whispered louder this time, their leaves rustling secrets she couldn't quite hear. Birds scattered without calls, startled by something she could not see. This music is freaking me out. Something, or someone, was there. She heard footsteps. Too light to belong to the wolf. Too heavy to be her own. They didn't follow from behind or lead from ahead, but moved beside her, as if they believed they had the right to walk the path with her. As if they thought they could belong there. And then somewhere between breath and heartbeat, the footsteps vanished. The girl was alone when she reached the wolf's stem. The forest exhaled softly around her. Everything was as it should be. The girl called, but the wolf didn't answer. And so with the bread still warm in her hands and something cold gathering at the base of her spine, the girl stepped inside the den for the first time. The air was closed and heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and ash. She moved slowly, careful not to disturb the stillness, her gaze sweeping across the interior until it landed on the scattered bones along the floor, clean, brittle, stripped of everything but silence. Something burned low in her chest, a quiet spark of rage or sorrow, she wasn't sure which. She walked forward and her boot came down hard on the bones, grinding them to dust beneath her heel. Her attention shifted then to something half hidden in the dark. A chest, lid slightly ajar. She knelt and peered inside. Behind her, a voice growled, "You shouldn't be here." The wolf stood at the mouth of the den, his shoulders braced against the frame like he was holding something back. His chest rose and fell too fast. His breath too shallow. His eyes were darker than she'd ever seen them. But she didn't back away. "I don't mind the dark. I want to understand." Her words didn't soothe him. He knew what she would see if she stayed. Knew that if she looked too closely, she'd understand what kind of hunger lived inside him. And once she knew, she wouldn't come back. Maybe that was for the best. Go. And never come back. The wolf said, harsher than he meant it. The girl didn't answer. She turned and ran, the chill still pressing into her spine like a warning. The next day passed without her, and the wolf waited, howled once into the dark, into the ache that no meal could quiet. He thought she had listened, that she had left him behind. But then, just as the sun began to fall behind the trees, she returned. Late. She didn't bring much, barely enough to fill the corner of her basket, but he took what she offered. He ate with desperation, and when she reached for something else, he licked the crumbs from her fingers. She came late again the next day, later the day after that, and each time she bought less, as if she liked what she saw, the way his hands trembled, the way his breath caught when she stepped into the clearing like she might not have come back at all. As if she enjoyed seeing the hunger bloom in his eyes, a hunger only she could soothe. Jesus Christ, it's getting dark. One day, when the girl opened her basket at home, she found something resting inside that she hadn't placed there. A fang, long and white, sharp at the tip. A peace offering, perhaps. Or a warning. Or both. Put it near her bed or make it into a necklace. Ooh, okay. Let me think. I'd probably make it into a necklace, so I'm gonna go with that. She threaded it through a silver chain and wore it close to her chest, so she could carry him with her. It's kind of romantic, in a creepy way. Caleb raises his brows, but he's smiling faintly. Creepy romantic is your favourite genre. And yours is doomed to monster love, clearly. Touché. So definitely the choices that we're making in the story is definitely affecting what's going on there then. One day, the girl noticed something missing. A scarf. A soft linen blouse she hadn't worn in weeks. She thought maybe she misplaced them, until another item vanished. Something she'd worn just days before. And then she knew. Something was not right. He's nicking her stuff. That day, when she brought food to the den again... that day she brought food to the den again, but the wolf was not there. She waited, listening to the hush that had settled over the clearing. The wind had shifted. The trees, usually full of rustling whispers, held their breath. The forest felt stiller than usual, as if it too was waiting. Curious, cautious, she stepped closer into the den, her footsteps soft as against the packed earth, until she stood before the old chest tucked into the corner. I would love to see Nate play this, just because he's got a really good reading voice, and I feel like he would be making this much more atmospheric than me, because unfortunately I'm not the best when it comes to reading. She opened the lid. Inside, her clothes, neatly folded. What did the wolf need them for? Sorry, hold on. Just responding back to someone real quick regarding a collab I got coming up. She reached for them. Behind her, a low growl rumbled. She turned. The wolf stood in the entrance, shadow wrapped around his shoulders like a second skin. Why do you have my clothes? Are you cold? His eyes gleamed in the dim light. He said nothing. I could warm you up instead, or do you want more clothes? I could warm you up instead. Caleb's eyes snapped to you. The book shuts with a quiet thud. He clears his throat, then opens it again like nothing happened. Wow, okay, bold choice. I like being bold, we know this. He flips to the next page a little too fast. Oh, he's getting flustered. The wolf didn't move, but his gaze darkened. He shaked his head. You should leave. What if I don't want to leave? Caleb looks up slowly. His expression shifts, something flickers behind his eyes. You hold his gaze. He clears his throat, quietly. Dangerous thing to say to a wolf. She means it. Yeah, that's the dangerous part. Dear. Go. His voice held no growl this time, only weight. A final word, shaped like a closing door. The girl hesitated, caught in the stillness between one breath and the next. And then she turned, and the forest, quiet and watchful, swallowed her footsteps like a secret. The seasons turned. The wind grew sharp, and frost crept along the edges of windows like silver vines. Leaves fell and still. The wolf's hunger did not. In the village, food grew scarce. The girl barely had enough to eat herself. At the market, stalls once rich with fruit and bread now stood bare. When she reached the baker's stall, she found it shuttered, the hearth cold, the door hanging crooked on its hinges, swinging in the wind. No one had seen him in some time. They whispered that he'd gone into the forest, that perhaps he'd followed something he shouldn't have, and that the woods were watching again. The girl said nothing. She kept searching for food, anything she could carry, even just enough for a mouthful. She didn't want the wolf to feed on something else. On someone else. It was then the village sage stopped her. An old woman, hunched and drenched in shawls of frayed silken feathers, her voice like dried leaves. She told the girl that today was not like other days. This was the turning of the longest night, when the forest shifted in its sleep, when the gates between worlds closed like teeth. Anyone who entered after twilight might not return. The forest light to keep what crossed its threshold. The girl looked up at the sky. The sun had begun its slow descent behind the trees, staining the clouds in golden ash. Shadows stretched longer with each passing breath, but she had no food in her hands. She still tried, but food from other villagers would only arrive tomorrow. No one wanted to cross that forest that day, and no one gave freely anymore. The villagers looked at her differently now, with unease, with suspicion, as if they knew she was feeding something they were too afraid to name. The sun was sinking fast. The forest gates would close soon. She couldn't go. She told herself she would try again in the morning, that it was too dangerous tonight, that the hunger could wait one more day. That night, for the first time in a long while, the girl didn't go to the forest. She stayed home. The fire burned low, shadows dancing against the walls. Her hands trembled as they rested on the handle of the basket, worn smooth by weeks of offerings. She imagined him out there, cold, restless, maybe feeding on something else. But she didn't lift the basket. Instead, she waited. And when morning came, she took what food she could find and followed the winding path back through to the trees. The forest, bathed in the usual gold of dawn light, seemed quieter than usual. I just quickly turn my fan down real quick because it's getting a little bit cold in here, dare I say it. The wolf stood at the edge of the den's shadow, watching her, but he did not move toward the food she carried. He didn't look at it at all. He looked at her. And something in his gaze had changed. She set the food down, but he made no move to take it. I don't need it anymore. And though the girl still returned, days later, weeks, the wolf never touched the food again. But he never looked hungry. He had been fed, and now he was full enough. He ate the baker, didn't he? A yawn leaves your lips. That's it? The wolf is finally okay? Caleb closes the book, the final page whispering shut. He doesn't look at you. Yes. You study him for a moment. There's something in the set of his jaw, the quiet in his throat. But you don't press, feeling sleep clouding your thoughts. I see. Outside the storm has stopped. You feel your eyes slip closed, drifting into a kind of sleep that comes only after storms. Safe. Weightless. Across the room, Caleb remains still. He watches you for a moment longer than he should, eyes tracing the rise and fall of your breath, the soft curl of your fingers where they rest beneath your cheek. Uh-oh. His hand drifts to his stomach and he presses lightly. Then he turns, walks into the kitchen, and takes an apple from the bowl near the sink. The skin snaps under his teeth, the juice running down his chin and fingers, and still he eats. Ending 1 of 3. Okay, ow! I just knocked my desk. Okay, right. A tape comes out of the TV. You grab it. You have a feeling you should give it to someone. Yeah, we probably should. There's no wind on the water, but something brushes your cheek. A breath, a whisper, smells faintly of apples. Oh, hey, you're back. Come, let's have a chat. Let's have a chatty, shall we? You return the VHS to her, and she smiles at you. Oh my gosh, she looks so pretty. Thanks, how was it? I hope you enjoyed the tape. What are these tapes? They allow us to connect to AUs, aka alternate universes. They're made with ingredients we gather on our travels, like slow burn embers and cliche caramel. Which ingredients are you using for the next tape? I'm not sure yet. The crew members will be meeting soon to decide. Remember to vote. The travel logs will be updated once a decision is made. That's all for now. Sure thing, darling. If you need anything, you know where to find me. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Okay, so for those of you who don't actually know, I'm actually on this lady's Patreon, and she essentially gives out like a poll every month for what we want next, and she works on it based on the vote. So she's definitely a deliverer of the people. She does things like JoJo Kaisen, obviously Love and Deepspace, and I think she's also got a few Honkai Star Rail ones as well. Now, I want to go into the temple because I'm a bit worried. As you enter the temple, you're enveloped by the scent of incense, which wraps around you like a warm embrace. The air hums with an electric energy, and every corner seems to pulsate with the promise of passion, drawing you deeper into its embrace. Above you, the statues loom, their expressions frozen in a timeless display of mirth and sincerity. Despite the stillness of stone, there's a vibrancy to their features, as if they could wake up at any moment and grant you ravenous knowledge. Or endless pleasure. Okay. The Schmut gods have already blessed this tape. Come back next time. Is it not going to let me do it? Okay, it's not going to let me do it. So it looks like we're going to have to get the other endings to find out. There's 1 of 3, which is interesting on this one. Doggo. View travelogues. Okay, cool. Right, well that's ending 1 of 3. Let's see if we can get the other 2 endings. See you in the next one.